Hi, and welcome to a video that's going to walk you through moving from a research question to really jumping far forward to try to visualize how you'd set up a data table from that question and how you would ultimately make a graph from that question. Why is this so important? Because we can get sidetracked from moving from those far ends of a research or an investigation, and we can miss the point when we get to that graph. The graph is really the key. This is the answer to your question. It's a visual answer to the question you're asking, and they have to be connected. So hopefully this helps. Let's start with this template up above me, and this says, how does changing the IV, the independent variable, affect the DV, the dependent variable? You can use that template to set up a research question right there. In this experiment, or in this example, I'm going to be talking about the independent variable will be salinity, something I am controlling and I'm going to manipulate independently of everything else that's going on. So I'm controlling this. I'm going to start from 0 grams of salt per liter of water, have 1 gram of salt per liter of water, 2 grams, 3 and 4 grams of salt per liter of water that I will be using to water plants in different, or to water seeds in different setups there. And I'm going to look at how changing that salt level will affect the percent of seeds that germinate. Now, once I have my lab set up, like this example here, we don't want to do it just once, because what if the seeds I'm using in the 1 gram have been crushed as I put them in on accident? That wouldn't give me a real representation of what's going on in the world. So in science, we always need to do repeats or trials. Ideally, I could do 1,000 trials, and I would have a really good indication of what's happening here. We often don't have that time. It's a luxury, right? So what I would suggest for my students to do is I say 5 increments, 5 trials. That's not a rule at all. Different experiments, different classes call for different increment levels and different trials, but 5 by 5 is a really good starting place to try for. Now, we have this set up. We've repeated it 5 times, this experiment. How do I take that experiment now here in this example, and how do I convert that to a data table? Well, as my things are growing and I'm getting my percent germination, I'm going to be getting those numbers. And if I rotate this and I put this now into a table format, I'll have a data table set up right there for me. Basically, if I draw lines between that experiment, as I'm doing here, you'll see how that works as a data table now. I've rotated to where my independent variable now is on the left column. So I have 0 grams, 1 gram, 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams as rows, and my trials are set across as columns. Now, a big mistake people make is they graph all that raw data, the trials. We call that raw data. We don't want to necessarily do that. There are moments you could, but for the most part, you don't want to do that. You want to process this data into something like average. Okay, so you can get your average, it's a bit more telling. There's other things you can do, lots of statistics you could do with this as well. A very common one that I do with my students is I say, let's add standard deviation into this as well, STDEV. That will result in error bars. There's a lot you can do with that in the conclusion, because large error bars suggest that there's a large range around the mean here, the average. It tells you your trials were all over the place. Small error bars mean that probably all of your trials are really, really close to each other. That suggests that that was more accurate. So error bars are really handy to use, and standard deviation is a great way to set that up. I have a video in the description. If you have your numbers already and you're ready to do that, I have a video in the description that walks you through doing this, plugging it into a spreadsheet, Google Sheets or Excel as well, and getting your graph made for you. If you're at that stage, skip ahead and check that out. So once I have my averages and I have everything set up, I can simply then visualize what this is going to look like in a graph. So again, I can take my independent variable, put it on the bottom on that x-axis, and my dependent variable on that y-axis, and I just made this data up. Don't do that with your data, please. I'm doing this to help teach you what it could look like potentially. to appreciate what connecting the dots between your graph and your research question, how beautiful that can be. That is the goal. All right, you need to have your graph lining up and matching up with what you're asking in the question. So this one does it, this example. There's lots of other examples you could explore for independent and dependent variables. I've listed just a few here. I mean, it's almost infinite what you could explore in science. You could look at the acidity level and how that's changing germination. You could do a line transect as your x-axis. So walk into a forest 100 meters and see how biodiversity changes as you go into that forest. You could go up a mountain, see how biodiversity changes as you go up in elevation. And all these things, they're simply parts of the research question. Independent variables, dependent variables, graphing them is quite simple if you follow this method. Okay, so ask any questions, feel free to ask away. Check out the other videos if you do have numbers and you're diving into this and you're frustrated with setting up tables and graphs. And I hope all of this helps. Okay, happy sciencing.